Hello, I'm Chris Crawford, and I want to show my grinding jig that I made not too long ago. First of all, I want to show my old grinding jig and show you why this new grinding jig is an improvement. So this is my old grinding jig. It's the one I use in my slip joint video, the first slip joint video. It is really basic. It's just a piece of angle iron, and I drilled random holes through the back of it, put one hole in the center and tapped it where I could put a screw in, and I can use this to set my angle. And so here's the way this works. So I would take my blade, I have this little screw, and put the screw through the blade and through that hole there. I got a little washer, or a little nut rather. I can get it going. Hard to get that little thing going sometime. All right, and then using these holes, I would put a pin in wherever would make the blade level with the top. So I want the blade to be straight across when I'm grinding it. So like right there would be about where the blade would be, and I can look in here and find the hole that best suits it. Actually, probably right there. And I would not use a pin this big. I actually use a little pin because it's going to get ground down, but I'm just using this for showing you. And so that's what I would do, and I would go up to the grinder, and I would start off with about a 45-degree angle, and then cut my 45-degree angle in there, and then slowly adjust this. And I'm not just putting it in one place. I mean, I'm moving it back and forth, checking my grind, turning this a little bit to adjust it, moving back and forth, checking my grind, and doing that all the way until I brought my flat grind from the scribe center line all the way up to my spine. So that's the way that this jig worked. And I used it for a long time, and it worked really well. But I wanted something that worked just a little bit better. And so I looked on YouTube and a lot of Pinterest pins and that kind of stuff, looking for grinding jig ideas. I found a lot that I liked, but the problem was some of them were very technical, and then some of them were very simple. And I wanted something that was not going to be difficult to make, that would be simple to make, but it would be very effective for the kind of grinding that I do. And so this idea came partly from the internet, but also part of it was from Alex Daniel. He was talking about his grinding jig. Get a thing out here. And so this is what I came up with. Move these parts out of the way that I don't need. Okay, so this is the new grinding jig right here. All right, and so this was really easy to make. You know, one of the things that I was looking online, I would see people using hinges, which Alex talked about that. I like the idea of a hinge. The problem was, you know, how am I going to fix this hinge to something? You know, I'm not really a welder, don't really have the ability to do that. And then I'd used some JB Weld on another project not too long ago, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to JB Weld that thing on there. I mean, that's strong stuff. There's not a lot of pressure put on this. And so what I simply did, roll this screw down a little bit. I simply have some hinges, and this is a piece of paper micarta that I wasn't using. Now let me tell you why I wanted the hinge and wanted the micarta. The difference is because with this grinding jig, you've got 3 points of contact. You've got you got one really long point of contact, which is the corner, and then you've got one more point of contact, which is where the screw is. It could raise up like that, but that's not that big of a problem. The bigger problem was that screw was cutting scratches into my surface, my rest on the grinder. And so I didn't want that. I wanted something that was smooth, that I could run across it, that the screw wasn't going to be catching into. And so I used this piece of micarta here. I just took the hinges, used some JB Weld, JB welded them into place. And just like on the other jig, I tapped a hole so I could put a screw in there. And I used one of these Allen bolts. I didn't have to, but that's a little easier on the fingers turning that than than it was on this one, although that wasn't hard. I just kind of like the feel of this one better. But what that allows me to do is to set my depth. And also, if you notice, it's not going to rock because of the hinges. It's not going to tip if I put more pressure on one place than another. All right, so I can adjust it like this. Now, rather than having a bunch of random holes throughout this jig is a little bit longer. Not much, but a little bit longer, and I wanted to use it for, it's a bigger angle iron. I wanted to have it so I could do more variety of blades. But what I have going on here is a series of holes across the top. Now what this allows me to do is to use whichever hole I need to get my blade toward the end. So like for instance, when I'm grinding, I'm going to want my blade, I don't want my blade right here where I'm grinding and coming off of it and catching the edge of my fixture. And you can kind of see that's what happened here. I got tape on this just to keep it from scratching. But anyway, if I pull this tape off, you can see that it's my fixture is ground down from running the belt, off of the blade. And so what this allows me to do is wherever I want to do it, on whichever side, I can put my screw through there, and I can hang it over the edge, and I can grind off like that. Actually, what I'd probably do is find the hole where it just goes off the edge. And so with this knife, I would probably go with this one right here. I would drill me another hole in the middle to give me a little extra. But that's that. Now, instead of having all the random holes in the middle, this is definitely an idea that came from Alex Daniel, is I have this, I tapped, put this hole and tapped it, and I've got this nut here, or the screw. It's kind of tight. And what this allows me to do is to put my blade in whatever hole that I want to, like right there, and then to set my angle with this. So let me go ahead and mount this blade, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Again, I have a tiny screw and tiny nut right here because the hole in my slip joints is 3/32, so not real large. So what I'm going to do is put my screw in there. I'm going to find the hole that best suits it, which probably right there with my tip just coming off. Get my nut back on. All right, I'll tighten that up, and I'm not going to get it too tight just yet. Just want it tight enough to hold the blade in place. All right, I'm going to get my blade set to try to get it parallel to the top. So I want my cutting edge parallel to the top of my fixture. It looks pretty close. And then I'm going to put this up against it and tighten it down. Now the nice thing about this is I can swing it this way if I'm grinding the blade in that direction, and I can swing it this way. Also, because of the way it's shaped, I can always go up against the blade. Now you can tell a little bit where it's ground. You can see, this was straight, but as I was grinding some blades, it kind of came across and took a little bit off, and that's okay. There's only so much of it's going to come off before it stops getting ground down, and then it's going to be. Now, so you can tell my screw got a little ground down there because it sticks out a little too far. This stock was not thick enough for me to properly countersink this screw, but not much of it is getting ground off, and so I'm satisfied with that. So I'm going to put this in place, tighten the screw down. All right, and so now I can tighten my back nut. I didn't have a wrench that size, so I just made one and hardened it. And so now my grinding fixture is ready to go. So the blade, when the belt's coming down on it, it's not going to push it down. It's going to be held in place. I can come up to the grinder. I can set my angle pretty high set it to just under 45 and get my initial bevel cut. Slides back and forth real nice, and then, you know, as I'm feathering the bevel all the way back to the edge, I can turn a little, grind, turn a little, grind, turn a little, and grind until I get all the way the edge from the top, or I guess the bottom right here, all the way to the top part of the blade. So this is my new jig for grinding small folder blades. Hopefully this will inspire you and give you some ideas on how you can make your own.